Thank you. I now recognize the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Perry, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to the panel for being here. I have the distinct honor of representing the district that much of lies in the shadow of the towers, the cooling towers of 3 Mile Island. I'm also happy to report that it is a vibrant, healthy, and productive community in the shadow of 3 Mile Island, and most of the residents are absolutely thrilled that the jobs will be coming back, that the lights will be coming on, and that the power of 3 Mile Island will be produced. And I, for one, hope that they will install a second reactor, one of the ones that we're talking about here today, on that site that is so well situated for such a facility. Now, I can't go on without just noting that my friends on the other side of the aisle seem to be concerned about the profits that are made by power companies that engage in constructing and operating nuclear facilities, while it seems to me over the course of at least the last 10 years, my colleagues on that side of the aisle have promoted and enacted policies that have increased the bills of my constituents, my bosses, my neighbors, the people I live around, I don't know, maybe tenfold. It's astounding. They don't seem to care how much citizens pay for electricity and how much renewable, we'll call them renewable energy operators make on government subsidies and mandates, because their products simply can't compete in the market. They seem to have no problem with that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your independent political analyst, no spin, no tribalism, just facts, context, and thoughtful commentary. Today, we're breaking down a congressional hearing exchange featuring Congressman Scott Perry from Pennsylvania and a witness, Mr. Epstein, where the main topics were nuclear power, renewable energy subsidies, and energy regulation. Let's walk through what was said, and I'll give you my own take along the way.
But I just think it's important that we at least attempt to set the record straight while we're in one of these hearings and have the counter discussion to just assuming that profit is bad, that everybody that runs a nuclear facility is dangerous, careless, and doesn't care about the citizens that they serve. And only people interested in renewables are willing to give up all their profits, which they're not, and provide low-cost energy to the masses, which they're not that either. As a matter of fact, it's the highest cost energy, and it's also very much more dangerous than nuclear energy. But that having been said, because I'm going on, Mr. Epstein, the Advance Act required that the NRC now switch to general environmental impact statements. One of the things that drives what kind of energy produced is how investments, when individuals, when concerns invest their money in something, they want to know that they're going to get a return on it. And I hope they get a profit too, because they're investing in something and putting their money at risk. That's how things work in America. But putting your money at risk for 15 or 20 years without any surety that there's going to be a positive outcome is a detractor from that investment. And essentially the regulations that are in place now are a deterrent to the advancement of nuclear energy and general production itself. So if you could just briefly explain how not doing the same thing over and over and over again for the same kind of design is going to be helpful to the industry, save the industry money, and in turn save my bosses, citizens of America, my constituents money.
For sure. So I think it's really important that you raise the issue of profit, because we absolutely want nuclear energy companies to be able to make a profit by competing to provide the lowest cost, most reliable energy, just like we want phone manufacturers to be able to make a profit providing the most cost-effective phones, AI people providing the most cost-effective AI, et cetera. The problems arise. There are two kinds of problems that arise. One is when you restrict the ability of profit-making entities to compete by not allowing them to do their jobs, which things like having a new environmental impact statement for every nuclear plant even if it's the exact same thing, that just dramatically increases costs. The other thing that you raised is when you subsidize inferior forms of energy, that also raises costs. We always pay more total, but in particular with solar and wind, it's particularly egregious because what it does is it puts more intermittent, unreliable solar and wind on the grid that doesn't replace the reliable energy. It adds to the cost of reliable energy. It allows them to win all of the market bids. So they take the money away from the reliable power plants. The reliable power plants get defunded, can't make a profit. This is why we have a shortage of gas turbines. One of the reasons why nuclear is in bad shape. But we cannot build dispatchable capacity profitably because we've screwed up the markets with subsidies. So the big, beautiful bill, by far the best thing about it, in my opinion, was dramatic cuts to these grid-destroying, price-increasing solar and wind subsidies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Congressman Perry started by talking about his district, which sits near the well-known 3 Mile Island site. He made it clear that many residents are excited about nuclear jobs returning and even hopeful for a second reactor. For Perry, this isn't just about policy, it's about local jobs, economic activity, and energy independence. He then shifted to criticizing Democrats for what he sees as hypocrisy, being concerned about the profits of nuclear companies, while supporting large subsidies for renewable energy like wind and solar. According to Perry, these subsidies have driven up consumer electricity bills, making life more expensive for his constituents. He framed nuclear energy as cheaper, safer, and more reliable than renewables, directly challenging the narrative that nuclear is inherently risky. From there, Perry highlighted a very technical but important point: the ADVANCE Act. This legislation changes how the Nuclear Regulatory Commission handles environmental reviews. Instead of forcing new environmental impact studies for every reactor the same design, the NRC can now rely on general impact statements. Why does that matter? Because building nuclear plants is expensive and time-consuming. If investors know that regulatory reviews won't drag out for decades, they're more likely to put their money into nuclear projects. Perry's concern is that 15 to 20 years of regulatory uncertainty scares off investment, which keeps America from expanding reliable nuclear energy. When Perry handed things over, the witness, Mr. Epstein, agreed with him on a key point. Profit is not a dirty word. He argued that just like we want tech companies to compete and innovate, we should want energy companies to compete to deliver the most reliable and affordable power. Epstein criticized subsidies for solar and wind, saying they distort energy markets. His main argument is that these intermittent sources don't actually replace reliable energy like gas turbines or nuclear. Instead, they add cost to the system and drain money from power plants that can run consistently. He even linked this to shortages in dispatchable power, the kind you can turn on whenever you need it. Finally, he praised the recent legislation for cutting back on subsidies for renewables, calling that the strongest part of the bill. So where does this leave us? Let's separate out the politics from the substance. Perry is clearly championing nuclear energy both for his district and for the broader U.S. energy market. And honestly, nuclear does offer huge potential. It's carbon-free at the point of generation, it's reliable, and can provide stable baseload power. At the same time, his dismissal of renewables as more dangerous than nuclear oversimplifies the debate. Renewable energy has its own challenges. Yes, like intermittency and grid integration, but it's also seen rapid cost reductions and technological improvements. Epstein makes a fair point about market distortion. Subsidies do change the playing field, sometimes in ways that harm reliability. But here's the flip side. Renewables got subsidies because without them, they might not have been able to scale at all. That policy choice to push renewables forward was about accelerating the transition away from fossil fuels. Whether that trade-off has been worth it is still a matter of debate. As for regulation, Perry is right that the U.S. makes it very slow and expensive to build nuclear plants. Streamlining environmental reviews for standardized reactor designs could reduce costs without compromising safety. But we also can't ignore public trust. Nuclear accidents, even rare, can be politically devastating. At the end of the day, this exchange highlights the fundamental energy debate in America. Do we lean into nuclear and reform regulations to make it viable again? Or do we continue heavily subsidizing renewables, betting that storage and technology will catch up? Both sides raise valid points. Nuclear could stabilize the grid and lower emissions, but renewables are already reshaping the market in big ways. The real challenge is finding a policy mix that ensures reliability, affordability, and sustainability. That's where the conversation needs to stay grounded not just in politics, but in what actually keeps the lights on at a fair cost to American families. So what do you think? Should the U.S. double down on nuclear, or keep pushing renewables forward with subsidies? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future analyses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.